The date that this video is posted proves that these predictions are being made ahead of time, as do these time-stamped emails and forensic notes PDF documents. If you are skeptical for some reason, please email me and I will forward these to you. This will sound very strange, but the announcement in a tweet from the 44th GOAT, greatest of all time, of football, Tom Brady, that he would return for a 23rd season, on the same day that the 44th President GOAT Antichrist announced in a tweet that he had the CVD disease, which was 23 days before he returned to the White House for the first time to celebrate his nationalized health care. And these announcements in tweets that were on the same day that a dozen rockets exploded outside of the U.S. consulate in Iraq are prophetic signs from the righteous Christian God of the Bible that are predicting that there will be an explosion of a dirty bomb or suitcase nuke in Manhattan, New York City on March 22nd, 2025. The date that this video is posted proves that this prediction is being made ahead of time, as does this time-stamped email and forensic notes PDF document. If you are skeptical for some reason, please email me and I will forward these to you. If you have already watched this introductory information in another video that is about the prediction for the dirty bombs in New York City on March 22nd, then you can skip ahead 33 minutes. God's true big picture of signs, patterns, and connections is only being explained on this channel. The full intended meaning of God's prophetic signs cannot be properly understood without their context and connections to other prophetic signs. God's big picture of signs is an interconnected web. It is through these connections between related prophetic signs that God is telling very important stories that are revealing very important knowledge. For example, it is through God's big picture of signs, patterns, and connections that he is revealing the death of Vice President Kamala Harris in a plane crash. For many years, God has been painting this particular picture through his prophetic signs, and along the way he has been developing numerous trails of connected signs that are leading to the precise date that Harris is predicted to die in a plane crash. Here is a diagram that illustrates one such example among countless examples. As we can see here, God has demonstrated a number of trails of signs that led to August 24th, 2023. It was known ahead of time that there would be a prophetic sign related to the death of Kamala Harris in a plane crash on August 24th. And then on this day, Vladimir Putin was the first public official to confirm that the Russian general and leader of the Wagner Group that attempted a coup of Vladimir Putin died in a plane crash, which hints at the soft coup that has been unfolding in America in recent years. In retrospect, it could have been easily predicted that the Russian general of the Wagner Group would die in a plane crash on August 24th because it was known that August 24th is 54 days before October 17th, which was another date God was pointing to ahead of time. This is why on August 24th, Trump, God's trumpet, had in 5 months been arrested for the 4th time in the 4th state. It also hinted at the number 54. God has been using in his signs the theme of the 54th Massachusetts Regiment, the first black regiment to fight in the Civil War, who were known for fighting valiantly at Fort Wagner. This is why, in retrospect, it could have been predicted that the leader of the Wagner Group, the Russian general who attempted a coup, could have been predicted ahead of time to be on August 24th, 54 days before October 17th, 2023. As we can see in this diagram, the trail of signs continues on from August 24th to the date it is predicted that Kamala Harris will die in a plane crash on February 24th. This is how God's true big picture of signs, patterns, and connections works. And this theme of the 54th Massachusetts Regiment is an example of a story that God is telling that is extremely important. Actually, February 24th ended up being another step in the trail of signs regarding the prediction for Kamala Harris's death in a plane crash. The date 224 hints at 2 times 24 and hints at G2424 in Strong's Greek Bible Concordance, which is the Greek word for the name Jesus. Greek letters are also numbers, and the numeric value of the name Jesus in Greek is equal to 888. The number 24 is 8 plus 8 plus 8. The other prophetic signs on February 24th also revealed the number 8. This includes the S&P 500 stock market index's close for the weekend at 5,088.80. The stock market closed at 5,088.80 points because the most central prophecy in the Bible describes a period of time between the decree to rebuild Jerusalem and Jesus' triumphal entry into Jerusalem in his first coming. From the text of the prophecy, it is straightforward that this period of time is 5,888 moon cycles, which means that the year of Jesus' triumphal entry into Jerusalem in his first coming was a year in which there was an extra month of Adar in the Hebrew calendar. The year 30, 31, and 33 AD did not have an extra month of Adar. This is one clear reason for how it is indisputable that the year of Jesus' triumphal entry and his death and resurrection was in 32 AD. This prophetic stock market sign also proves this. And the Boston Celtics basketball team's 8th win in a row, giving them an 8-game lead over the next team, and the dangerous basketball court storming incident after the 8th ranked Blue Devils college basketball team lost to the Deacon Demons in an upset. Also on February 24th, Trump won the primary for the 8th state to join the Union when he beat the former governor of the 8th state. Trump campaigned in the capital of the 8th state on the day of Harris's third visit to the 8th state this year, which hinted at 3 8s and 888. The name Trump in Simple English Gematria is equal to 88. Donald J. Trump in English Gematria is equal to 888. The S&P 500 stock market index close at 5,088.80 on February 24th hinted at adding 5 times 8 days from February 24th to reach April 4th. 5 times 8 days after the stock market was closed at 5,088.80 points was the date 4/4, April 4th. The Antichrist is the 44th president and also the basketball president who wore jersey number 23 in high school. It is predicted that the 44th president will become the president again after the death of Kamala Harris in a plane crash, and the date 4/4 in 2024 was exactly 2 times 3 years, which hints at the number 23. After the crash of the Thunderbirds jet that was number 4 in its squad on the date 4/4 in 2018. Thunderbirds jets are F-16s, which hints at 4 times 4. This Thunderbirds jet crashed in the 36th state, and the number 36 hints at 666, the number of the Antichrist in Bible prophecy, as 36 hints at 3 6s, and also it is 6 times 6, and 2 times 18, which is 6 plus 6 plus 6, and the 36th triangular number, which in a triangle of numbers, the last number in the 36th row is 666, and 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 all the way up to 36 equals 666. Alaska is the 49th state to join the Union. The 49th vice president is predicted to die in a plane crash. She was the first woman vice president, and her death will point to the coming 49th president, Michelle Obama, who is predicted to become the first woman president. And on the date 4/4, Alaska Airlines announced that it had received $4 times $4 million from Boeing for the door that blew out of its plane in January. This announcement regarding $4 times $4 million on the date 4/4 was exactly 4 times 4 days before 2 Japanese military helicopters collided and crashed. 4 plus 4 Japanese military crew died in the crash. In God's signs, helicopter blades are symbolic of the letter X, which is symbolic of the mark of the Antichrist that is described in Bible prophecy. Also, the mark of the Antichrist changes a person's chromosomes, which is symbolized by an X. An X helicopter blade hints at 4 points, and 2 helicopter blades hints at 4 and 4. The 2 helicopters and their blades that hinted at 4 and 4 crashed and killed 4 plus 4 people 4 times 4 days after the date 4/4 and the announcement regarding $4 times $4 million. The reason why God is using Japan in his signs is that the land of the rising sun, with a sun on its flag, is symbolism for the coming catastrophic solar flare that will knock out America's power grid, and Japan is symbolism for nuclear bombs. Also on the date 4/4 in 2024, demolition of the Uranus building in Taiwan began. Images of the Uranus building that was leaning on a 25-degree angle after the strongest earthquake in Taiwan in 25 years became emblematic of the destruction in Taiwan. In other words, the Uranus building came to symbolize the Taiwan earthquake. Uranium is used in the production of nuclear bombs, and uranium was named a couple of years after the discovery in 1781 of the planet Uranus. The name for uranium was inspired by the discovery of the planet Uranus. In God's signs, Uranus is symbolic of nuclear bombs. Barack Obama was the first sitting president to visit Hiroshima, Japan. The Taiwan earthquake was 7.4 in magnitude, which hinted at the date 7/4, which symbolizes America, making this earthquake a warning of judgment for America. The demolition of the Uranus building occurred on the same day as the 4.8 magnitude earthquake that shook New York City, where the dirty bombs are predicted to explode, and it was said by people in New York City that the earthquake felt like a bomb had exploded. This 4.8 magnitude earthquake was centered in a town named White House Station in New Jersey. The 44th president will become the president again through the use of the 25th Amendment. This is why on the date 4/4, demolition began on the Uranus building that was leaning at a 25-degree angle after the strongest earthquake in Taiwan in 25 years. God is communicating that after the bombs with nuclear uranium material are detonated in Manhattan, New York City, there will be a large-scale evacuation. The 44th president became the president in 2009. In God's signs, the number 9 is the most important number, as from the Bible it symbolizes God's judgment. The news stories of the Taiwan earthquake focused on the hundreds of people that were trapped in the national park that needed to be evacuated. On the date 4/4, 9 people were rescued and evacuated from a cave system named 9 Turns in the national park. Also, 25 is the ninth semi-prime number, a number that is divisible by only two other numbers. And this is why the strongest earthquake in Taiwan in 25 years and the iconic tower, the Uranus building, leaning on a 25-degree angle. These 25s also hint at the number 9. The demolition of the Uranus building and the evacuation of 9 people from a cave system named 9 Turns is exactly 9 months and 9 days to the predicted uranium bomb explosion in Manhattan and evacuation from Manhattan Island. The demolition of the Uranus building and evacuation on the date 4/4 is also exactly 40 weeks and 4 days before the predicted uranium bomb and evacuation from Manhattan Island. The 44th president was inaugurated in 2009, and this is the reason for the 9 months and 9 days connection from the date 4/4, when 9 people were rescued from the 9 Turns cave system. The date 4/4 was 4,444% of a calendar year after the beginning of the 444-day Iran hostage crisis, which began on the date 11/4 in 1979, and the date 11/4 hints at 11 times 4 equals 44, and the Iran hostage crisis led to the attempt to rescue the hostages in what was known as Operation Eagle Claw, which was aborted after only 5 out of 8 helicopters made it to the first stage in the desert of Iran, after which 4 plus 4 U.S. military service personnel were killed and 4 were injured in an aviation disaster in the desert. And this date, 4/4, that was 4,444% of a year after the beginning of the 444-day Iran hostage crisis, is also 4 times 4 times 4 times 4, in other words, 4 to the power of 4 days exactly before December 16th, 2024, when Ukraine's SBU intelligence agency named Russian General Igor Kirillov the head of Russia's army's radiation, chemical, and biological protection troops in a criminal case for the mass use of prohibited chemical weapons on the eastern and southern fronts in Ukraine. It cited more than 4,800 cases of the enemy using chemical munitions on Ukrainian territory since the start of the full-scale Russian invasion in February 2022. Kirillov was internationally known for repeating that Ukraine was seeking to develop a, quote, dirty bomb, unquote. He alleged that, quote, 2 organizations in Ukraine have specific instructions to create a so-called dirty bomb. This work is in its final stage, unquote. He said that Ukraine would deploy the dirty bomb as a false flag and blame Russia. What this means is that this is a prophetic sign from God that he is using to confirm that the coming predicted dirty bomb or suitcase nuke that will be detonated in Manhattan will be a U.S. false flag. The following day, on December 17th, the Russian general who made accusations of a dirty bomb was killed when a bomb exploded outside of his residence. This was on the exact 9+9+9th anniversary of the release of the movie Wag the Dog, about fabricating a war to distract from a presidential scandal. Again, the number 9 is the most important number in God's big picture of signs, patterns, and connections, as from the Bible it symbolizes God's judgment. And again, God repeats a number 3 times for emphasis of its symbolic meaning. And so we have this theme here of what seems to be communicated from God of a false flag. And we have this connection of exactly 9 plus 9 plus 9 years. This is a profound connection to the date that this Russian general who was claiming dirty bombs died in a bomb. And again, this date was expected in advance to be such a sign, to be such an event. So it was confirmation of what was expected on December 16th and 17th. Both of these dates were expected, actually. Both of these dates were being predicted ahead of time by God. And it was funny because, usually it's not 2 days, but this is the case. And then we had this. We had the announcement on the 16th and then his death on the 17th. Well, anyway, not only is it 9 plus 9 plus 9 years exactly, this death from an explosion of the dirty bomb accuser after the movie Wag the Dog, but December 17th is also, in turn, exactly 9 plus 9 plus 9 days to January 13th, the date of the predicted dirty bomb or suitcase nuke in New York City. December 16th was 4 to the power of 4 days after the demolition of the Uranus building on the date 4-4, which was 4,444% of a year after the beginning of the 444-day Iran hostage crisis. December 16th is exactly 4 weeks before the predicted suitcase nuke or dirty bomb explosion in New York City. All right, now this 4 weeks connection that I'm referring to here took us to January 13th, another very important day and step in the trail of signs that is leading to the predicted dirty bombs in New York City. As explained in another video, the prophetic signs we received on this day included the G3 Atlas comet, which reached its perihelion on this day, and this comet is known now for its explosion as it reached perihelion. The nucleus fragmented. There was these outpouring of gases from the nucleus, as in a hint at nuclear. There, for that matter, was also the aspect of the tail, which had a nuclear shadow, as what it's called, and on and on. So as I explained in the other video, this was the nuclear comet, and this was also on the day that the moon occulted Mars. And Mars is symbolic of war in ancient astrology, including Semitic Hebrew astrology, and that's why it's used in God's signs for symbolism. And so what I also want to mention too is that this January 13th in turn connects to March 22nd, 2025, the date for the predicted dirty bombs, which will be on the moon phase of the half moon, which is why it connects with this moon conjunction of Mars on January 13th. The connection is 68 days, and the word for bomb in Hebrew gematria is equal to 68. Also, the name Obama is equal to 68 in Hebrew gematria. And again, Obama hints at Obama, and hence why the series of fours connection, which I went at length to explain, that led to January 13th, hinting at the 44th president, Obama. Also, incidentally, the Beirut Beirut bombings, which hinted at Barack, occurred exactly 444 months after the first UN session in New York City. And the peacekeeping forces in Beirut that were bombed were related to the UN. And the Antichrist will also lead a world government body and the UN in the end times. Now, the Beirut bombings that hinted at Barack Obama were 21,600 minutes, which is 15 days, before the Capitol building was bombed in 1983. 21,600 minutes hints at 216. Barack Obama was born on the 216th day of the calendar year. 216 is 6 times 6 times 6. But also, the name Barack is equal to 216 in English gematria. And so the name of the Barak bombings hints at Barak, and then the name Barak is equal to 216, and that's why we have the 21,600 minutes connection to the Capitol building bombing when the May 19th Communist Organization bombed the Capitol building, and Barack Obama was a member of the May 19th Communist Organization at that time, during 1983. And that's a fact, and that's also explained in other videos. I just wanted to add that here. Now, this 68 days between the perihelion of the comet and the nuclear comet, I should say, and the occultation of Mars by the moon to the half-moon phase and the predicted 30 bombs in New York City on March 22nd. This 68 days is also 2 months and 9 days, which hints at 29, which is a number that God uses in his signs to symbolize the moon, because the moon cycle is 29 or 29 and a half days. Now, if you recall, at the beginning of this video, I was talking about the signs that occurred on February 24th, 2024. And that gave us the revelation to add the 5 times 8 days to get to the date 4/4 and all of that, right? So let's return back to February 24th now, which is what we were talking about a while ago, and I'll explain. So far, I have explained how the big picture of signs, patterns, and connections works, and I have explained how the trail of signs was leading to the date February 24th in regards to the date that Kamala Harris is predicted to die in a plane crash. The trail of prophetic signs that are leading to the date it is predicted that Kamala Harris will die in a plane crash led to February 24th. The same is true regarding the prediction that 2 dirty bombs or a suitcase nuke will be detonated in Manhattan, New York City, like Harris's predicted plane crash. God was also pointing to February 24th ahead of time regarding the prediction that 2 dirty bombs will be detonated in Manhattan. Likewise, the signs on February 24th revealed adding 5 times 8 days to reach the date 4/4, and as was explained, the signs on the date 4/4 in terms of the dirty bomb explosions in New York City revealed adding exactly 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 days, 4 to the power of 4 days, and then exactly 4 weeks to reach January 13th, 2025. Which in turn connects to March 22nd, 2025. The date it is predicted that the dirty bombs will explode and there will be an evacuation in New York City. The signs on February 24th included the largest peacetime evacuation in the United Kingdom in order to enable the safe removal and detonation of a recently discovered 500-pound World War II bomb. Also on February 24th, an explosive was detonated outside the office of the Attorney General of Alabama after the Alabama Supreme Court ruled 8 days before February 24th that embryos are human life. The 8 days connection between the Supreme Court of Alabama's ruling and the bomb outside the Attorney General's office of Alabama on the February 24th is the reason for the series of signs involving the number 8, as was explained on February 24th, and for the 5 times 8 days connection, as was explained. These very important signs are explained in the Alabama Obama video. God developed elaborate trails of signs that led to February 24th in order to communicate extremely important knowledge through the many different stories contained in these trails of prophetic signs. There are about 70 videos related to the predicted dirty bomb in New York City on this channel that predict that these dirty bombs would explode and there would be an evacuation from Manhattan Island on February 3rd. Each of these videos tell a different and very important story that everyone needs to know, And these stories are developed through trails of connected prophetic signs that led to February 3rd, 2024. In other words, God's prophetic signs connected to February 3rd, and then on February 3rd, we received the prophetic sign that was expected in advance of February 3rd. The prophetic sign that occurred on February 3rd that was expected in advance of February 3rd was the U.S. airstrikes in Iraq and Syria in response to the drone plane attack on the U.S. Tower 22 base in Jordan. The airstrike mission for the 2 U.S. bombers took 2 times 22 hours and began on the date 2/2, February 2nd. 2 B-1B bombers were used in the airstrikes. The letter B is the second letter in the alphabet. 2 B-1B bombers hint at 2 dirty bombs in the area code 212, which is Manhattan Island. The airstrikes carried out by 2 bomber planes on the date 2/2 that were in a response to the drone attack on the Tower 22 base, revealed adding 22 days from the date 2/2 to reach February 24th, the day of the 2 prophetic bomb signs, and the other signs that revealed adding 5 times 8 days to reach the date 4/4, on which the prophetic signs revealed adding exactly 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 days to reach December 16th, which is exactly 4 weeks to January 13th, which as explained is 68 days or 2 months and 9 days to March 22nd, 2025, the date it is predicted that 2 dirty bombs will explode in Manhattan, New York City. This important bomb sign and the important stories and knowledge that God is telling that relate to this are explained in the U.S. bombers' airstrikes video. For example, the 2 paths of the 2 U.S. bombers that departed from Texas and took 44 hours to complete their mission and return to Texas point to the 2 paths of the 2 eclipses that will cross over each other 44 days after the 2 bomb signs that occurred on February 24th that were previously mentioned, when the second Great American Eclipse will first enter the U.S. through Texas. What I am saying is that when this prediction comes to pass, you should know that you need to watch every minute of every video on this channel, including all 70 of the videos that tell the different stories from God through different trails of prophetic signs that led to February 2nd and 3rd. The reason I say February 2nd and 3rd is because God was pointing to the 24th day of the month of Shavat in the Hebrew calendar, which began at sunset on February 2nd and went until sunset on February 3rd, and the airstrikes on Iraq and Syria occurred at midnight local time on February 2nd and 3rd. What I am saying is that the 70 videos in which it was predicted that a dirty bomb would explode in New York City on February 2nd and 3rd are 100% correct. What I am saying is do not skip these videos that are predicting February 2nd and 3rd. They must be watched. If you do not watch these videos and learn about the important stories God has been telling, you will have missed entirely the point of this prediction that is from God for 2 dirty bomb explosions and an evacuation in Manhattan, New York City on March 22nd. Believe me, I know far better than you why God is giving this prediction, and it is so that you learn the information that is contained in these 70 other videos that predicted February 2nd and 3rd. Prediction: dirty bomb or suitcase nuke will explode in New York City on February 24th, 2024. This email is documenting the prediction that a suitcase nuke or one or two dirty bombs will explode in Times Square and or Wall Street in Manhattan, New York City on February 24th, 2024. There will be a large-scale evacuation from Manhattan Island. The 188th prime number is 1123. H188, this is a typo, so we're talking about the 188th prime number, 1123, and I'm saying that H188 in Strong's Bible Concordance is the word woe exclamation mark, a word that is used in context of extreme judgment from God. February 24th, 2024 will be exactly 23 months and 11 days after a dozen rockets exploded outside the U.S. consulate in northern Iraq that were fired by an Iranian-backed militia on March 13th, 2022. All right, so this date right here, March 13th, 2022, was known many weeks ahead of time to be an extremely important date in God's big picture of signs, patterns, and connections, which is only being explained on this channel, as being part of the trail of signs leading to the end of the trail, which is the prediction for the dirty bomb explosion in Manhattan. All right? This was a very big date, and it was known ahead of time. In fact, at one point ahead of time, it was thought that the predicted bomb would explode on this day, because that's how it works. It's not always possible to know in advance that the date that God is pointing to will only be a step in the trail of signs and not the end of the trail of signs. All right. And the signs that occurred on this date are or were extremely important and profound. And one of them were these rocket explosions. And so again, ahead of time, we were expecting explosion-related signs, and then on this day, we received actually two explosion-related signs. Both of them regarded the enemies of America, Iran and Russia. All right? Now, the first one of these explosion signs was this one that I just mentioned, which was the dozen rockets exploding outside of the U.S. consulate in northern Iraq that were fired by Iranian-backed militias, a militia. The other sign, by the way, that was the explosion sign on this same date, was the big explosions right at the border of Ukraine and Poland, right at the training camp where the U.S. was training Ukrainian soldiers. Russia warned the U.S. ahead of time, and anyway, that's what happened, and that was at the border of Poland, which is the border with NATO, which is really a U.S. organization, making both of these explosion signs regarding America in foreign countries, but nonetheless, it was America explosion signs. All right? Now I am saying that these explosion signs, in particular this Iranian one, was 23 months and 11 days before the predicted explosion in New York. All right? Now, I have had theories along the way, and I'm not going to say anything anymore, but the theories that I used to have, because of the signs, I thought God was perhaps indicating that the explosion will be related to Ukraine And the nuclear material and the dirty bomb will have come from Ukraine. That's not even more than a 50% likelihood in my opinion. I have no idea, in other words, right now, what God is saying regarding specifically who will be behind the explosion in New York. Except one thing I am sure of, because really I'm not sure if it's Ukraine or Iran, but I am sure that whatever will happen, there will be a lie in the mainstream media regarding the narrative, and it will be used to further their war on true conservatives and Christians. That I am sure of. All right, based on God's signs. All right. So anyway, this 23 months and 11 days connection hints at 1,123, which is the number that I began with saying that it is the 188th prime number, which is the number God frequently uses in his big picture of signs because it points to this word in the Bible, woe, exclamation mark, that is used in the context of extreme judgment from God. All right? That is why this is an amazing connection. So many trails of signs spun off from this date. For example, you must watch the Obama returns to the White House prophecy video on this channel, just for example. But we have here a direct connection, which is beautiful. And it couldn't be more profound because it hints at woe, exclamation mark. All right. This connection between March 13th, 2022 and February 24th, and by the way, there are quite a number of videos on this channel that explain the trail of signs that was leading to March 13th, 2022. Right? The older videos, they go back to early 2021. They are equally profound and important. Anyway, you'll see, you need to watch all of the videos, obviously, when the prediction comes to pass. That's the point. God is communicating very important stories and knowledge in each of these trails of signs and stories that need to be learned. And so anyway, but there's like, what I'm saying is that there are quite a number of trails of signs that were leading to March 13th. And then from March 13th, we have all of these profound trails of signs that are leading to February 24th, including this direct connection right here. All right. Now, this connection is also 1 year, 11 months, and 11 days. This 23 months and 11 days is also 1 year, 11 months, and 11 days, which hints at the number 11, which is relevant, as I will explain. The date 313, which is one of the things or why God used this date, is because 3 divided by 13 equals 0.230. And you cannot do that with any pairing of numbers that are dates. The only date you can convert into a 0.230, in other words, 23, clearly, is this. And the reason for the number 23 is there's a few. One, it is the 9th prime number, all right? And that pairs with the 11. First of all, and that's how God's true big picture of signs, patterns, and connections works, which is only being explained on this channel. It works on the principle of second and third and multiple witnesses confirming a matter as the Bible says is required, and this is what makes what is being explained on this channel true and not a product of one's imagination and different and unique than everything else on the internet that claims to be an analysis of God's prophetic signs. And one simple way in which he would provide a second witness for us, if we think about it, is through pairing certain numbers together. And 9 and 11 are frequently paired together because they hint at the big warning of judgment on 9/11, which in turn points to Isaiah chapter 9, verse 11, and on, as explained in other videos. All right. And so, anyway, what I'm saying is that is a second witness, because this date in itself hints at 23, which is the 9th prime number, which pairs with the 11s here. All right? That's how his big picture of signs, patterns, and connections works. And I know this because I have been studying it from morning until night for more than full-time hours for 6 years. Okay, so, by the way, also, the date itself, which hints at 23, and these 11s, gives us a pairing of 23 and 11, which hints at 1,123. That's a second witness to the 23 months and 11 days connection, because the date itself hints at 23, and then this is also the equivalent of all of these 1s, these 11s, which gives us 11 and 23, which is a second witness confirmation to the 23 months and 11 days, which hints at the number 188 and whoa exclamation mark. And when the bombs explode as predicted in New York City on February 24th, it will be a massive woe for the nation. All right. Now, on this date, March 13th, which hints at 23, in 2022, on this date, the 44-year-old GOAT, greatest of all time, of football, announced in a tweet that he would return for a 23rd season. This was right after he retired briefly. Okay. And the day that the 44-year-old GOAT announced in a tweet a return for a 23rd season was exactly 23 weeks after his return to Boston to play the Patriots in a game that was billed the return of the GOAT, because he had in that year, he had recently left the Patriots after 20 years in New England and playing for the Patriots, but he came back with his Buccaneers, and it was the biggest regular season game of the season, promoted heavily by the NFL, and it was dubbed the Return of the GOAT game. But anyway, the point is that it connected with 23 weeks to this date that hints at 23, when he announced that he would return for a 23rd season. In other words, this is a second and third witness to the 23 that is contained within the date. See how this works? It's just astounding, right? This is how God's true big picture of signs, patterns, and connections works. Because the Bible says that second and third witnesses are required to confirm a matter. All right. Also, on this same date, which hints at 23, the 44th president, GOAT, Antichrist, which is why they go to football on the same day, the 44-year-old go to football, I should say, the 44th president, GOAT, Antichrist, on the same day, who is the basketball president who wore jersey number 23 in high school, announced in a tweet, just like Brady announced in a tweet, that he had the CVD disease. And this was 23 days before he returned to the White House for the first time to celebrate his nationalized health care, which is what hints at the CVD disease. Okay, but again, Brady announced his return for a 23rd season in a tweet, and then the GOAT Antichrist, the 44th president, announced in a tweet, whose number is 23, on the date that hints at 23, that he would that he had the CVD disease, and then he returned, just like Brady would announced he would return. He returned 23 days later to the White House for nationalized healthcare celebration, which is paralleling with this CVD disease announcement 23 days earlier on the date that hints at 23, and on, as you can see. Okay. Obama is the GOAT Antichrist, whose number in Bible prophecy is 666, 666. Now, that is actually just a typology. It's symbolism. If you want to get really accurate or specific, precise, this number is referring to the first of the two antichrists, which is Pope Francis, who was elected Pope on the date 313, by the way. But anyway, that's neither here nor there for this particular paragraph. Okay, this 1 year, 11 months, and 11 days connection from 3:13 in 2022, is also 713 days. Okay, so we have a third method of connecting these two dates. Again, one was 23 months and 11 days. The second was 1 year, 11 months and 11 days. And now we have, because 1 year and 11 months and 11 days is the equivalent of 713 days. 713 is the 216th semi-prime number, and which is a number only divisible by two other prime numbers. And God uses prime and semi-prime numbers in his big picture of signs and connections. Okay, and 216 is 6 times 6 times 6, hinting at the Antichrist. Obama was born on the 216th day of the calendar year. 3/13 in 2022 is 1 year, 11 months, and 11 days to the predicted explosion in New York City, which is in turn 11 days to the date it is predicted that Obama will become the vice president on March 6th, 3/6, which since at 3 6s in 2024. So, in other words, the 1 year, 11 months, and 11 days from the GOAT Antichrist's announcement that he had the CVD disease, this prophetic sign that I explained, is then followed with an 11 days connection. And so, in other words, it's a second witness. In other words, the 1 year, 11 months, and 11 days is a second witness to this 11 days connection from the predicted bomb in New York City, which will be a part of the rise of the Antichrist, to the rise of the Antichrist. That is predicted to be on the date 3/6, when he is predicted to be appointed the vice president by Michelle Obama, who is predicted to replace Kamala Harris after her predicted plane crash on February 24th, 2024. Today is February 20th. It is still 4 days before her predicted plane crash. Believe me, I know far better than you how the prediction made in this video was derived. And more importantly, I know far better than you why the righteous Christian God of the Bible has given me a voice through this prediction. If you are a quote-unquote Christian or Muslim, this prediction was not learned through a demon. Be warned that blaspheming the Holy Spirit is the unforgivable sin. If you are a New Ager or New Spirituality person, this prediction was not learned through somehow tapping into the supposed universal collective consciousness. If you are a conspiracy theorist, this prediction was not learned through figuring out a supposed code that the Illuminati and Satanists are using. This prediction was learned through the Bible and through watching carefully the Lord's prophetic signs, which Jesus commanded all Christians to do. Besides proving that Jesus Christ is the Lord, the reason why God has given me a voice through this prediction is to prove that the controversial things that I am saying in the videos on this channel are the truth. Therefore, a wise person will want to watch all of the videos on this channel. What I will also do is create a video or two that summarizes some of the controversial things that the Lord will prove to be true when the prediction being made in this video comes to pass. I will leave links to these must-watch videos in the description box below this video. Again, the purpose of this prediction, that is from God, is to prove these things that I will talk about. And therefore, it would be foolish to not watch the videos that I will leave links for in the description box below this video. Aliens and UFOs are demons masquerading as aliens and UFOs. Most people's spiritual experiences are demonic deception, especially if they are not a true follower of Christ. In the last days, many people who claim to be a follower of Christ will have spiritual experiences that are in reality demonic. God became a man and died a horrible death at the hand of the ruler of this world, Satan, and then defeated death for you, so that you too can overcome death, which is the price that must be paid for sin. It is time to repent, which means to change one's ways and turn to God and become a disciple of Jesus. Do not listen to or follow the example of most quote-unquote Christians. Instead, follow the teachings of Jesus, which most quote-unquote Christians ignore. Like Jesus, you must surrender your life. Put nothing ahead of Jesus, your Lord. Like Jesus, you must lay down your life so that you may live. As Jesus said, one must die first, like a kernel of wheat going into the ground, in order to then grow and produce fruit. And like Jesus said, one must produce fruit, or else like a branch or a tree not producing fruit, they will be thrown into the fire. Jesus was speaking to quote-unquote Christians when he said this. One must die the self in order to be born again. And like Jesus said, one must be born again to enter the kingdom. Like Jesus, you must sacrifice your life for the sake of the coming kingdom. It means to do work that involves some form of sacrifice and risk. To have faith does not mean to intellectually agree. You need to demonstrate your faith through taking action. To have faith means to trust in God's promises. Taking action demonstrates trust and fear of the Lord. The primary reason that the wrath of God is coming upon America is quote-unquote Christians that do not get what I have just explained. The only reason a Christian is alive is in order to help other people become Christians and make it to the kingdom. Do not be deceived by those on the political left claiming to be quote-unquote Christians. There is no such thing as a Christian on today's political progressive left. Jesus said, "Do not think I have come to abolish or change any bit of the law or the prophets of the Old Testament Bible." In other words, the God of the Old Testament Bible is the exact same God of the New Testament Bible. It is essential that you learn about the God of the Bible and his ways. The God of the Old Testament Bible is looking to see who will fear him, and to fear God is not the same thing as quote-unquote revering or honoring God. Through Christ's ransom payment, a Christian is someone who has been redeemed and freed from slavery to sin and Satan. In response, a true Christian recognizes that their life in this world does not belong to them, and they become a willing slave to Jesus for the sake of the kingdom. Please leave a like and upvote the video, and once this prediction has come to pass, share this video with everyone you know, and more, don't stop sharing it everywhere in social media. And don't only put the link to this video or another video on this channel in comments sections of places you typically visit, but importantly, put the link to the video in places you never visit, where people who don't think like you visit. If you are a quote-unquote Christian, nothing in terms of an evangelism tool compares to this video with its prediction. It is a massive bag of gold. Beware of Jesus' warning through the quote-unquote Christian that did nothing with his bag of gold and was banished to hell. Also, read Ezekiel chapter 3 and 33 for this same warning. If you think you might be spending too much time watching videos instead of working and sacrificing for the kingdom through handing out flyers and potentially helping hundreds of people in the same length of time as a video, my flyer is filled with amazing information that people need to know right now, and it points people to the video channel. Now is not the time to be handing out typical evangelical tracts that are largely based in error anyway, such as, quote, Jesus loves you, unquote, for example. You can hand out the flyer on busy street corners, put them on car windshields in busy parking lots, and put them in mailboxes. Just send the file to your local print shop. You can download the file from the website. Please leave a like and upvote the video, and once this prediction has come to pass, share this video with everyone you know, and more, don't stop sharing it everywhere in social media. It is essential that everyone immediately read the homepage of my website, asteroidprediction.com. If you are watching this on the YouTube platform, please note that not all of the videos are on YouTube. You need to switch to the Odyssey.com or Rumble.com channel, and do it now in case you aren't able to later.